Now, Parliament is a place where we make laws. The laws we make at Parliament must never be targeted at an individual or a group of individuals. I've always argued that. The laws we make must be for the common good. Because the 100 and something members of Parliament who are in that Parliament are representative of 2 million people, or rather 20 million people. So whatever the laws we make there must be for the common good of all the Zambians. The MMD were acting very foolishly at some point in the laws they used to enact. You remember the law that was targeted at a gentleman, where they created the law to make the theft of motor vehicles non-bailable. You saw how that law came to haunt the MMD. The MMD further went on to enact a law called the Proceed of Crime Law. Proceed of Crime Law. But PF Nabena, Bashapanga Kwefunde grade 12. Sadly, that same law came to haunt a lot of those who sat in that house to make the same law. So it is never a good idea to sit in Parliament to target a particular grouping of people. I've also pointed out to Bayu PND the same way. Baya Pange Funde, where they've made the theft of stock non-bailable. When we talk about stock, we are talking about Inkoko, Imbushi, Imbelele, Nengombe. They are saying there's now a law, if you didn't know, that in Waiben Koko, Waiben Bushi, Nangwingombe, Nangwimbelele, you will not be given a bond, or rather bail. It's a non-bailable offense. Just because Abanes wa UPN Jabengi, Bala take Ngombe, and so because cattle theft is rampant in Southern Province, they create a law. Now this law is targeted around the Southern Province. Nothing else. This is not tribalism. This is not regionalism. This is about making a law targeted at a particular individual or particular grouping of people. Now, my main discussion today is about this law called the Proceed of Crime Law. When this law was being enacted, I remember the late Vice President George Kunda actually cautioned by MMD, we must do a lot of benchmarking. It may be harmful to us. Today, this law is being used in a very bad way. For those of you who don't understand, and I want to blame the PF. Imoto PF, sorry for saying this, you had an opportunity to change this law. This law called the Proceed of Crime Law. This is what I'm also telling to UPND. That Imoto UPND now somewhere abusing this law, the Proceed of Crime Law, because you are dealing with Abanen, you want to persecute Abanen. Don't forget that at some point this law is going to come and haunt you. I'll repeat, you don't create laws to target a section of society or an individual. Now, for those of you who don't understand, the Proceed of Crime Law, if today somebody says, Binwell, I think that we feel that you don't have money to buy this car. So we suspect that we don't feel that you can have enough money to get this house. So we suspect that it's a proceed. Now, what the Constitution of Zambia says that if you allege suspect you must prove. You have the burden of proof. You must prove that is what the Constitution says. The Constitution further has what is called the presumption of innocence. This means that anyone you accuse to have committed a crime is innocent until proven guilty. The first part of the illegality of this law called the forfeiture of proceeds or the Proceeds of Crime Law is that it contravenes the Constitution on two parts. Therefore, it's unconstitutional. Number one, it shifts the burden of proving. Instead of you accusing which they prove beyond reasonable doubt, you shift the proving to me. No, prove that it is against the Constitution. Secondly, when you allege that I stole this car, there and then you pronounce me to be guilty according to the Proceed of Crime Law. Thereby, apply guilty. Before you even find me guilty. This law is unconstitutional. It contravenes the Constitution. Now, hear me as to what is happening, how this law is being abused today. Now, it doesn't matter whether you are a politician or not. And I want to even to speak to our praise singers, because some of the praise singers today, they are getting some wealth. Mining activities, they are getting some wealth. They are buying cars, they are buying property. Along the Kafiwa River, people have built properties. One day when government changes, the other people will come and question, and they will immediately deprive you of the right to use that property until that case is disposed of. Now we can and the first fumamo until this case is concluded. And you know how long cases take in Zambia to be concluded. Of course, there's a crime koti bapangere that is speeding up these processes. But I'll tell you the dangers of this law. I'll give you an example. Me, as a person who has a family, has got a responsibility to care for my family. I need to provide for my wife. I need to provide for my children. You cannot go to my children, my son Sean, no kumipushat suti washire because you womba. Because today I'm able to afford to buy Sean a good suit. If he says, Daddy, I'm going for a prom, I can buy an expensive suit or a reasonably priced suit for him. But in it's a proceed of crime. The role Sean akwete na ngwinchi tofe Sean akwete is to tell I'm still in daddy. Dad. Then you move away from Sean. You must come and ask me. And I know that there are a lot of cases and people who have been, prosecuted, whose properties have been confiscated by the state, forfeited to the state in the same manner, where you go to a wife. You say, how did you manage to acquire this property? I am my hand and I am flats. How did you manage to have these cars? The law dictates that you must go to that somebody who has been mentioned. How much they prosecute? But what is happening today is that no, if you are interested is because you don't have the means. This law is being abused, and unfortunately, it won't end at just targeting the politicians. It will also go to, embarrass, antagonize, and disturb even just mere citizens. I know of friends today whose properties are in the hands of the state today on suspicions that the state feels that those people did not acquire those properties in a legal manner. And the saddest part is that our prosecution, the law enforcement agencies, they will come to your house and say, no, we feel it is valued at 5 million. They even forget that when you were building that house, a block, for instance, 5 kwacha. Today, a block is costing 12 kwacha if you didn't know. So when they cost that house today, they cost it at a prevailing cost level, and they'll give it a cost of 12 million or 5 million. But in Shinganda, you are 500,000 kwacha, and you have the capacity to afford 500,000 kwacha. That is how some of these people unfairly, and some of you are celebrating today. You are even celebrating at Nibakabolala without even understanding the circumstances. I know of some people who have been maligned before the courts. Umuntu wakwete ploti, ashkile plot 150,000 kwacha. Okay? Lelo, by pay value, muno musake special, by pay value, ya 5 million, because today plot obviously have gone high. That is what they are doing. Now, for those of you who may be following this conversation, you'll be excited. The law dictates that if you suspect I have committed the crime, name the crime I have committed, and if you think that the car I'm driving is a proceed of crime, you must associate that car to a crime I should have committed. I think there's a latest ruling in an appeal case. I saw Counsel Dixon Jerry talk about it, where a court has ruled that we must now go beyond. Namata suspect that Binwell Nakwata, a property suspected to be a proceed of crime. Can you relate that property to a crime you think he could have committed? Because it is not enough to just say, we feel that this property you have is a proceed of crime, without relating that or associating that property to a particular named crime. For you, the lawyers, this is a subject that we must discuss thoroughly with sober minds, because this crime, or rather this law, is unfair, it's foolish, it's unconstitutional, and it is maligning innocent people on the basis that you just suspect it's a proceed of crime without necessarily naming what sort of a crime I may have committed. Today, a lot of people are being jailed. Some of them, we've even known them. They've been business tycoons before. And my heart is poured out to, Honorable GBM. I know certain things could be questionable, but this is a man, and I didn't want to dwell on this matter. I just wanted to talk about this issue. This is a man we've known in this country who has built a business empire before he even joined politics. Away from that, but I'm focusing on the issue of this crime called the Proceed of Crime Law. It was foolishly enacted by people who wanted to target certain individuals. Others who came after them, especially to PF, you failed to amend or remove this law. It is now haunting you. Not to you PN to be excited. This law will come and haunt you. In short, what I'm saying, we must never enact laws targeted at individuals or targeted at a grouping of people. The law must be for the common good. This law must be struck out from our laws or otherwise amended. It is being abused to target innocent citizens and to target competitors, especially political competitors. It is not a good law. I repeat, my heart breaks to see a lot of people being maligned, a lot of people being sent to jail on mere suspicions that whatever they have could be proceeds of crime without naming what crime they committed. How can we be unfair? You just say, but Binwell, we feel I am a suit mufualaya, they are proceeds of crime. Come on, tell me what crime I committed, where you think I could have gotten the money to buy those suits I have. If you think that I'm driving a car that is beyond my means, you cannot just say it's a proceed of crime. Tell me what crime I committed so that you then relate that or associate that car to that same crime. If in them don't think landa. It is what normal a society must be founded on, or must be found on justice. Justice must be the cornerstone of our society. If you are one of those who doesn't get bothered by injustices, I can guarantee you, like I keep saying, injustice one day will visit you. And I'm not a prophet of doom, but injustices will visit you. Just like today, we are having people being visited by a law that they had an opportunity to strike off our books. The same way, now UPND, don't be surprised when President HH leave office, abantu at e-community house is a proceed of crime. Now what that the law does today is that the moment we suspect that it's a proceed of crime, first kukupoka. It doesn't matter whether you are a shrewd businessman, they will still get you until you prove yourself in the courts of law. And it could be years. It could be over time. The inconvenience can be imaginable. You would have been maligned in the public to be a criminal, because in Zambia today, when they just say is, alleged to have committed a crime, you are labeled as a criminal. This law is a foolish law. It's a useless piece of legislation that must be amended. If anything, taken out of the books, or at least we must go further by what the judge has said in that appeal case, where if you allege I've committed a crime, tell me which crime I committed. If you think I've got a property suspected to be proceeds of crime, first of all, tell me the crime that I could have committed. At that point, the burden is you proving that the property I have is out of criminality. You have the burden, according to the Constitution, to prove my guiltiness. And I am innocent until you prove me beyond reasonable doubt in a competent court of law that I am guilty. I know some of you will be offended, especially that I've given an example. I don't care. I speak for justice. I stand for justice, and I speak the truth. If the truth hurts you, I thank you. Have a lovely day.